I was assigned to join the 4th Marine Division as an artillery battery officer in the 14th Marines, where I became the survey officer and other duties at the Battle of Titanium in the Mariana Islands. You can see that on the map there, the distance. This was while Tinian Island was taken with relative ease, a bloody battle was in progress on Guam, 100 miles to the south. This was my first taste of battlefield conditions. I was scared, worried for myself, but I had confidence in putting my training into reality. The first sight of dead Japs and Marines and those who were wounded still on the battlefield, I was shocked. I now understood the motto of the Marines: move forward now. My next combat assignment was in the island of Saipan, near Tinian. The 10th Artillery Battalion, 2nd Marine Division is where I was assigned. This was a team of artillery battery officers. It took regiment a long time to mop up the enemy island, the island of Saipan, and to clean out the many caves, tunnels, and pockets of resistance. A whole city was underground in the underground level. We made several sweeps of the island. The Japanese men were very diligent and fierce. They were very cruel to each other, as well as to the American forces. We were not very kind to them either. We often used flamethrowers, napalm firebombs, and explosives into the cave, which burned up the oxygen and forced them out of the caves. Their only goal was kill, kill, kill all Americans, to give all honor to their emperor. This was serious. Mostly it was hand-to-hand fighting. If we saw an enemy, we shot him. We took very few prisoners. Gaining military victory over the island was our main purpose. I witnessed the kamikaze suicide attack on the American fleet. This was later to be known as the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. This had a chilling effect on our small LST, that stands for Landing Ship Tank, loaded for combat as part of a huge naval armada. We, being a small ship, among the larger destroyers and aircraft carriers and battleships, were the prime targets of the kamikaze suicide planes. We were fortunate to not be hit by the torpedo bombers. What an experience, wondering if we would be next. Many ships were ablaze, and these were pre-invasion airstrikes. Personally, I was very sensitive to the raising of the American flag on Mount Tapachau on Saipan. I could see the flag on the mountain. Our men were very impressed. It was a much-needed morale boost. Another responsibility that I was responsible for was graves and registration of the deceased. We took a bulldozer and dug several deep trenches to bury the dead soldiers who lost their lives at the Bonsai suicide attack, that incident. We were heavily involved with that. We registered information from the victims' dog tags. This was a most difficult duty. The sight and smells will always be a sickening memory for me. With Mount Suribachi looming over them, the Marines crossed the sandy terrace of Iwo Jima beachhead against withering Japanese fire. Mount Suribachi would be taken only after 4 days of heavy fighting, but the fighting went on for 30 more days. The effects of the flag raising had a positive magnetic effect on all of our invading troops. all the ships blasted their horns and sirens and whatever they could to be very acknowledged as a great event. Our ship was on this ocean when we heard this news. Our division was combat ready when we were ordered to provide as a floating secondary reserve to back up the fighting troops as needed. My impression was to feel the morale-building effects of the original flag raising of the American flag on Mount Suribachi on Iwo Jima. In 2008, Marion and I were one of those World War II veterans honored to travel as a group from Utah to visit the war memorial sites in Washington, D.C. The Marine Corps Drum and Bugle Corps performed on the steps of the monument. This was a thrilling event for us to witness. Like the kamikaze suicide attacks on Saipan, there were many torpedo plane and many submarine attacks on Okinawa, near the Japanese mainland. This picture shows a U.S. aircraft carrier was hit by two kamikaze aircraft, which caused severe damage and major fires. But the excellent damage control teams saved this ship. However, many men and ships were lost. Our 2nd Marine Division was deployed to attack the island of Okinawa, along with other divisions. This was a long and costly period of fighting with little progress to show for it, in the face of strong fortifications and continuous Japanese counterattacks. By now, the attacks by the Japanese were the Japanese soldiers coming from Japan, the elite guard of the emperor, were the ones that we were also fighting at this point. Massive kamikaze attacks on the invasion fleet followed. There was heavy rain, lots of howitzers, and a lot of movement of equipment that was so difficult with all the rain. Our troops performed a mock landing to divert the enemy. Our Okinawa invasion had suffered almost 40,000 battle casualties, and kamikaze had cost the U.S. Navy a further 9,700. Japanese casualties, both military and civilian, were some 110,000. Now, finally, the Allies could attend to the most awesome operation of all, the invasion of Japan itself. The mock landing is the reason why I am alive today as a field artillery officer. The field artillery officers were always prime military targets. The B-29